this is Amy. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I paint a very pretty soft purple floral design on this clear glass bottle. And I have already cleaned it off with soap and water and rubbing alcohol. Very important that if you're doing glass painting that you clean off the surface and make sure that you do go over it with the rubbing alcohol to get rid of any oils that might be on your glass so that the paint adheres nicely to the product. Alright, brushes I'm going to be using are two of my Magic flat brushes, a number 6 and a number 8. And then I'm going to be using a number 4 Deerfoot Stippler and a dotting stylus. Now, dotting stylus, I mean, you can use anything, a pencil tip, brush handle, whatever it is you want. You don't have to have a certain size or a certain brand or anything like that. Even with the brushes, use what you have on hand. Please do not go out and buy, unless you're looking to buy something different. Don't put the money into it. Practice and use what you have. Paint I'm using for this design is Moon Yellow. All of it is folk art paint, and a combination, most of it is the multi-surface, but I do have the enamel for the wicker white. I'm going to be using lime green and Thicket. I mentioned the wicker white already. Eggplant and lavender. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll see how this works out. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute. Alright, so going ahead and I try to get my plate in here as much as I can. I just don't have a big window to work in as far as the video is concerned. But I'm going in with the lavender and the wicker white, double loading it, just getting my brush nicely filled with paint. And I do tip the side of the lavender into the eggplant. Alright, so I am going to, trying to avoid that, I don't know what that is there, but there's a number series printed on this bottle, so I'm trying to avoid that. Not really sure. First time I've ever had a bottle that had printing on it like that. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and start creating a few what I would consider as buds. And I am doing this by just doing some little wiggle action, if I can get it out. Keep in mind too, when you're painting on glass, it's very important to give it nice coverage in order for it to be durable. The nicer coating you put on, the more durable your design is going to be. With that being said, when you're doing it on a bottle, not as important as when you're painting on glassware that you're going to be drinking from and using often, but it's still, you want your design to last. Put a nice coating of paint on it, that will help. Alright, so we have some little buds to start with. And then I'm going to start, and I'll have to make a judgment here as far as my bottle goes, but I'm going to start with the open one. And basically I'm just going to go around creating these initial petals. And I mean, you can come this way and do it however you feel comfortable. I am a lefty, so please keep that in mind, that you might have to start in different directions than what I am doing. If something doesn't feel natural to you when you're painting and you're following mine, just know that that could possibly be the reason why, is that you're trying to go the direction I am. If you're right-handed, you might feel more comfortable turning the design and going a different direction with it. I hope that makes sense. So if I start from right to left, you're right-handed, you might want to try left to right. That's what I'm trying to say. Alright, so then we're going to just come up here. And I think this is cute. Not intending to be any specific flower, and I'm going to back my plate up. Again, I'm not trying to make it a certain flower. This is just something fun to paint. And hopefully it's still easy enough for beginners. It should be. Just some basic strokes. And you don't have to put as many petals on as I did. I probably went a little crazy with that. But that's okay. Alright, so I have one last one that needs to be finished. Alright, and it's okay to leave the center open because I am going to be tapping the center in with my Deerfoot Stippler, in case you wondered. Probably didn't wonder, but I'm sure just in case, right? Alright, so I'm going to come up here and start because I'm just afraid that I'm going to run out of room. I want to make sure I get all the petals in here. Again, when I always do my sample on paper so I can find, sometimes when I go to put the design on glass, I don't have the space that I had on the paper, so I have to make some adjustments to my design, which is fine. Now keep in mind too, I'm just doing the front part of this for you on this video. I will not be painting all around the bottle for the purpose of the video, but I would, if I'm selling this design or this bottle, I would actually go around the entire bottle with my design. That just, I don't know, with these bottles, since it's not a flat bottle, the Jaeger bottles, I don't mind just doing the design on the front because of the nature of the style of the bottle. But with the round bottles, especially if I'm going to add lights to it, I just think the ambiance is nicer if the bottle is painted in its entirety. Except, you know, you might want to leave the neck of the bottle unpainted. On this one, because I'm not really sure what's going on the inside there, I probably will paint it in its entirety if I'm selling it. But just look, you know, just a beautiful, very soft design. Different, but just very, very pretty. Alright, so then over here, I'm going to scrape paint off. Now if you get too much paint in your brush or you feel like it's just too much keeping you from doing a crisp enough stroke, then go ahead and wipe it off. Okay, I'm going to turn this again. I keep forgetting. I'm trying to make sure you see what I'm doing. I just want to make sure too that I don't roll it, because I'm really good at that. You know what I might do? Do it over here. I don't know what that is. I have never painted on this bottle, so it's not something I've left behind. And you can put the petals closer to the center if you want, fill the center in more. As you can see on these other ones, I'm not really too concerned about the center being open because I will be going over it. Keep sticking to the paper. I'm going to do this one again. And when you're painting on glass, you can, if you feel like you need to go over it again to make it have good coverage, you can do that. or if you feel like you need, in some part of this, you need to give it a little more drying time, you can do that. Either literally give it more drying time, or you can hit it with a heat gun or a hair dryer. That often helps. It's a very easy, simple design. They don't have to be difficult in order to be pretty, right? That's my saying. Definitely do not. There we go. Now I'm going to put in, scrape my brush off again. I don't like a ton of paint on my brush. I'm just funny about that. I just feel like it doesn't let me have a crisp enough brush stroke. Now on this, I am going to be doing just a couple more buds hanging down. Like I said, you don't have to wiggle a lot. You can wiggle some if you want, or just do straight strokes if you don't want to do the wiggling. I'm trying to get some of that eggplant on. I want some darker, like that. See, just pretty. And then over here, I am going to add kind of a partial. It's not really, not a full-on. Tap, tap, tap. And it just, I hope you like this design. Something different, right? Alright, so there we are so far. Now I'm going to do my little stippler. I am going to go in with the yellow at the tip, and then the heel of it I'm doing white, the wicker white. Always tap off before I go into the flower, just to make sure I don't have too much paint. I can always add more, which I typically do, but I like to start off with a little bit and then add more as I go. And this one's pulling in a lot of the purple because it is wet. Wet on wet. That's where, like on this part of it, where you might want to give it some drying time. But I'm not going to, just for the purpose of the video. Oops, loading it wrong. But that's fine. I don't mind the color. I don't mind it at all. And what I'm going to do on this one, because I really don't want it to be just a real precise type of center. I just want it to be more of a looser kind of a design. There we go. Now what you could also do if you wanted to, take a little bit of the eggplant and then just come in here, tap a little bit of that in on the base of it. No, that's like not too much towards the base, but well, for heaven's sakes, can't get the paint to stick on there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of pounce it in. I'm going to work it in a little bit. I don't want it to be just like I just stuck it there. That's why I say I'm really looking for this to be just a little bit more of a looser design. And I'm brushing off some of the paint as I'm doing it. And then I just want to come in here with some of the white. Add that here, like that. Yeah. When you start layering, sometimes it's hard. But anyhow, there you go. Alright. Like I said, you can work with your centers if you want for a while. I'm not really too concerned about that. Then on these little buds, I'm not doing that on all of these, which I could, but on the buds, I'm just going to do some dotting. Now, this, again, is a made-up flower, so there's really no, guideline as far as, well, for this type of flower, you have to do this or you have to do that. If you don't want to do the dots, that's fine. They can just be real random because I am not trying to simulate. You could even put dots around the centers if you want, but I'm going to leave it like that. Then I'm going to take my bigger brush, it's the number 8, I'm going to double load it into the thicket and the lime green, touching the lime green side into the yellow. And that's the moon yellow. And then come in and start putting in my leaves and my stems. Now, when you're doing this, it might be a little light at first. Just keep working it to get it the consistency that you want it to be. And I'm just going to keep doing this around here, and I might have to come back around and just work the green a little bit, because when you're doing on glass painting, it's not always real simple as far as getting the designs to look exactly like you want them to do, like that you do on paper. It's a little bit more challenging, but that's okay. When you paint, you'll get the feel of it. And for some reason on this one, it's not wanting to stick. Not sure why. You could even touch on a little bit of white, because white has more of the pigment, and I think it has a tendency to make it a little bit more opaque, because that's what I'm striving for, is opaque. Not anything crazy, just for it to have a good coverage. Of course, look nice, but you can just keep working it until you get it to look the way you want. Alright, keep moving here. I'm going to turn this upside down, trying very hard not to touch it on the paper, because unfortunately I can be very good at messing up my designs that way, and I really don't want to do that. Nobody does, right? Okay, so let's see, let's continue on. Now, if you're new to my channel, just know that I really like, really like leaves, and I can get a little heavy-handed with them. So if I'm putting more in than what you would like to see on your project, you don't have to put in what I'm putting in. See what I mean? Like, this is trying to get it to be more opaque, because I do know that That is very important. If you have anything that's really light, it could very easily be scratched off. And I'm not saying that the paint isn't durable, don't get me wrong. It's good. However, tell ya, trying to do a video between the dogs barking and my phone ringing, goodness sakes. Anyhow, I'm not saying that the paint isn't durable, but if the paint is on really thin, it's more apt to be scratched or you know, not be as durable as you want it to be. So just be careful. I guess I'd really work at putting a good coat on. I do like to coat my projects with the folk art, or not folk art, but plaid. I'm saying this wrong, probably the Mod Podge. I like to coat it with that once I'm done, once I've baked it, and then give it a nice coat of Mod Podge. It's the dishwasher safe part or brand formula. That way it will just have a little more durability. You don't have to, you know, there's no requirement with this paint to do any of that. But I'm just, you know, letting you know that that's what I do. You know, a lot of times people will ask, and you just have to know that you got to do trial and error. Even with this paint, just because it's a paint I like, you might find something else that you like better. So know that that's okay. You know, there's a lot of different products on the market, and I have tried a lot of them, and then there's some actually that aren't even around anymore that I actually did like, but you know, they don't always stick around either. So know that that's a possibility as well when you're painting. Get a product you like and it disappears. And I'm just going over these, sorry, just to give them a little bit more, filling them in a little bit more. I just want them to be coated well. Alright, so let's move on here. I am going to do some wiggle strokes here, some of my basic leaves. And when I'm painting these, I like to just add some interest in them and kind of do them in different directions as far as the colors of the paint go, meaning that, you know, the one side of this is dark and one side of it is light. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. I just feel like it gives it a little bit more interest to kind of change it up. But I do understand if you have a preference or you don't really care about switching them around. And sometimes I lift them up. Sometimes if the paint is not covering well, I just end up patting the design or the paint on. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm sure I'll get to that point here at some point. Also, when I do this, if you don't want to be someone who like this is kind of what I mean by patting it, where I'm just kind of touching it and pulling it. The wiggling doesn't always work on this. Sometimes when you're wiggling it, it pulls it back up. So you have to learn, depending on what you're painting on, and it may not even be the whole bottle that behaves like that. It could just be part of it. Now that pulled up. You do have that kind of a problem as well with painting, because you know, you're painting over, you're kind of reworking it, and that can cause the paint to come up. You just have to learn how to deal with it, if that should happen. And that's where sometimes you just have to go with touching it lightly and continuing to paint it. Okay, so I have one there. I don't want to put too many, and I apologize. My air conditioning is coming on. Now, when you're painting on glass, or painting on a bottle, I should say, not necessarily, well, I guess there are glass bottles, but not necessarily when you're painting on glass per se, if you don't want to do like the stems, you can do the flowers and just put the leaves around it without adding any stems in. My bottle that I did, I think it was yesterday or the day before, was like that. I did not put any stems in, I just did the flowers and put leaves around them. So it doesn't all have to be, you know, with stems in them. You know, some of these are just more meant to be just cute and not worry about the stem part. And also when you're painting too, like what I'm doing right now, you know, I fussed a lot with some of this, but then I'm going to come up and paint around it a little bit anyway, so, you know, the amount of fussing that I did with it, I didn't necessarily have to do because I'm filling it in. Hope that makes sense. And let's see, I'm going to do that here. Main thing is just put the leaves in wherever you feel they're needed. If you don't want to put a bunch of leaves in, then don't. I just like to have some good coverage and, you know, have my bottle filled up pretty full for the most part. I'm just putting light little veins in here. Not anything too concerning here. Or you can leave them out. You don't even have to do them if you don't want. Oops, see that one kind of took the paint off a little bit. You just have to learn. Wax paper is a great product to practice with. It really is. It's very perfect for it. Alright, let me see here. I might want to just put a few in here. And I like the filler leaves. That's what I consider these are just little filler leaves. Very light. Alright, I think that's pretty. I'm going to stop with it at this point. And I hope you like it. If you do, please make sure you give me a big thumbs up. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell before you leave. And also, if you would do me a big favor and hit that share button that's underneath the video, you will have the opportunity to share it on your social networks with all of your family and friends, whatever social networks you use. It'll give you the options and makes it very easy to share. Alright, thanks again for taking time to view my video. If you want to stick around and view some of my other ones, I have a lot of different ones you can choose from. Please stay safe and healthy, and until the next time, you have a good one.